to the UN Assembly, as Israeli ambassador to Ghana, Roy Gilead, says the proposed two-state solutions to the Israel-Palestinian conflict cannot guarantee lasting peace unless Hamas is fully disarmed and all Israeli hostages are released, reacting to President Mohammed's address to the United Nations, which called for an immediate end to the war. Ambassador Gilead described the speech as critical, but insisted Israel will continue its operations until Hamas surrenders and frees the hostages. Take a look.
We want peace more than anybody else. But we know that peace in our region can be achieved only through might, only through force, only through deterrence. Only if our enemies, I'm mainly talking about the non-state actor, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, only if they will understand that Israel is too strong to be kicked, pushed into the sea, only then they will realize that Israel is a fact. Specifically on Gaza, if at the end of this campaign Hamas will be standing on its feet, we have lost the war. We have lost the war. President Mohammed, afraid, was not the only one who spoke yesterday at the General Assembly. Mr. Abu Mazen, Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian leader, spoke as well. He did it via Zoom because he didn't get a visa. And he also spoke about the need to disarm the Hamas, and he said Hamas will have no role, zero role in the future of Palestine. Immediately, the reaction of Hamas came. They blamed him for being a traitor. They said, no, Hamas is there to stay. Those terrorists have no intention to go nowhere. And unless we bring them down, we lost the war. I often make comparison between Hamas in Gaza and Boko Haram in Nigeria. You remember that also Boko Haram kidnapped the schoolgirls in Nigeria. The same happened to us. But there is one difference. Nigeria is a huge state, and the Boko Haram currently do not control any area. This is the difference. Sorry, my friend, that you need to move. This is the
Let's still remain on this development and speak to an international relations analyst, Professor Daniel Dramani, who is with the Legon Center for Diplomacy in the University of Ghana. Good evening, sir, and you're welcome to News Tonight. First of all, I want to find out from you, do you think that there could be a better way or a better messaging to the Israeli Prime Minister's approach on the outrage of nations in the ongoing conflicts?
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks to the chair's listeners and viewers. I think I was expecting the Prime Minister, Israel Prime Minister, at least to have toned down a little in the midst of all that walkout. That you see delegates, you see president, heads of states are not happy, and the manner in which they left, possibly that could have made him to change, but he remained defiant, very strong, and still defended the policies of his government, the policies of the Israeli state, or the state of Israel. So, President Netanyahu is very serious. He seems not to bow to pressure, but rather will still do the unthinkable. And I think one of the points that he made is that I think as long as he has the support of the U.S. President Donald Trump, I'm sure he will carry out all these threats that he has said.
Right. So again, you just heard the ambassador in Ghana also speak on the development. What do you think about what he just said about the ongoing issues?
Yes, I think one of the very point that he has made very clear is that, well, Ghana might have taken a position not so happy with Israel action. But of course, as the ambassador put it, Ghana-Israel relation remain intact. And I don't think that Ghana will depart completely from the state of Israel as long as Ghana's traditional foreign policy of non-alignment holds. Ghana will still continue to treat Israel as a sovereign state, respect their decision. Ghana may disagree where there's the need to disagree. Ghana also continue to remain loyal and maintain the friendship between the state of Palestine. Ghana has recognized Palestine for several years, and that position will not also change. And I like the position of government. Government of Ghana will always take a decision based on the national interest of Ghana and also looking at the reality on the ground. I think President Mahama is turning his back to Israel not because he doesn't like Israel as a state, but it is some of the actions. And these Gaza attacks have stayed on for quite a long time. And the atrocities and the violence, every day, the killings, the innocent people. So that is where government is not so happy. And I think that President Mahama's decision is not so different from the decision of many of the countries of the global south. Africa, majority of them hold the same decision as the president took.
Right. Thank you very much, Prof. And Professor Daniel Dramani Kipo Suhimni is an associate professor at Lesiad at the University of Ghana. Let's move away from that development and come back home. As Minister for Communications, Digital Innovation, Digital Technology and Innovation, Samuel Nati George says broadcasting remains central to Ghana's democratic journey, fostering national dialogue, cultural expression and education. With more than 700 radio stations and over 100 television channels and a rapidly expanding digital ecosystem, he notes that concerns about media quality are becoming increasingly pressing despite the sector's growth. He was speaking at a forum organized by the African Media Bureau.
The role of broadcasting in Ghana's democratic life, social cohesion, and economic development cannot be overstated. It remains a primary medium for news, education, cultural expression, and national conversation. Ghana's media is rightly celebrated as one of the most vibrant in Africa, with over 700 FM stations, more than 100 television channels, and a rapidly expanding digital ecosystem. However, this vibrancy is in numbers. The question of media quality must, however, be considered very seriously. Despite the numbers, challenges persist. Some FM and TV stations remain non-operational years after authorization has been granted. Others face compliance issues relating to licensing, content standards, and spectrum use. These undermine both service delivery and public confidence. Added to these are technological disruptions, shifting consumer behaviors, and economic pressures that demand deliberate and responsible policy evolution. Financial sustainability in particular is a pressing concern for me, for sector players. Many broadcasters are struggling with high operational costs, growing competition from digital platforms, and fragmented advertising revenues. These realities necessitate innovative business models and partnerships that strike a balance between viability and quality.
Now, in related developments, the Ningo Pampram MP is calling for a collective regulatory push to restore sanity and safeguard Ghana's media space and national values. He insists that schemes disguised as prophecy, fetish rituals, and sexually explicit relationship shows have no place in broadcasting.
We must all agree that charlatans parading as men of God, men capital M, God small g, instead of men of God, small m, capital G, and running all kinds of frivolous schemes in the name of God, need to be driven out of our airwaves like the temple with a regulatory whip. Money doubling and get-rich-quick schemes being broadcast by unscrupulous fetish priests have no place in our public broadcast. Pornographic and sexually explicit content masquerading as adult relationship shows cannot be allowed to continue soiling the innocence of our national airwaves. There must be sanity, and we must work together to achieve the same. We cannot put today's profit ahead of tomorrow's sanity. Let's agree as stakeholders to develop a roadmap together to clean up our airwaves.
Let's have a brief discussion on this pronunciation by the Minister. Cecil Thomas Sunkwa-Mills is the president of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, GIBA, to pick his thoughts on this pronouncement by the minister. First of all, welcome to News Tonight. The minister has called for an end to certain kinds of advertisements in what he calls restoring sanity on the space. How are you taking this pronouncement and receiving this as an independent broadcasting association?
Yeah, thank you, and good evening to your listeners this evening. We had a very interesting conversation today, and I think what we've been asking for is basically to have the conversation on improving a lot of aspects of our broadcasting to come on board. For a long while now, we haven't had conversations, and so the minister was raising different issues. There are different ways that the different issues will be treated. For example, with the religious issue, it's got a lot to do also with content. So that's why we need to look at how we're issuing the licenses. We've got to review that again. And it will definitely involve the other regulator, which is the National Media Commission. So if you take a flashback, we've been talking a bit about the broadcasting bill. It tries to tamper the improvement of broadcasting quality with also the ask of the Constitution and ensuring that we have the freedom of communication that is guaranteed by the Constitution. So for us, we're just happy that the conversation on broadcasting has started again. It's been a number of years, and we'll take each topic as it comes. But I think there's a different way to treat advertising, and there's a different way to look at religious broadcasting. So it's all catered for there, but we make sure that it's still within the rights.
Right, Mr. Sunkwa-Mills, I want to find out from you, where do we draw the line between issues such as sexually explicit stuff? Because it can be the lines can be very blurred.
Yeah, we spoke about that. And those are all part of the conversations that we had. There was one bill that was supposed to, this came actually from a subsector from the National Film Act. And I remember we had that discussion where we're trying to do even ratings on films, etc. So there's a standard. But how do we create a standard, and how do we merge it into broadcasting regulation? Those are some of the things that we need to update. Look, we have certain laws that were available as old as 2004, 19. There's some really old laws, but things have changed a lot. And in those days, remember, there was GBC. GBC has very strong editorial control. But now, with what we have now, we have social media, etc. It means that the laws must advance to deal with those, and there are so many gaps that we cannot do. So we must structure. There was one example that was asked that, for example, we have certain cultures where women may be partially nude. If you take that, but it's completely cultural. And if you take that against the actual definition of pornography or nudity, we've got to make sure that we completely agree on what the limits and the barriers are. But it will not be my position currently, because it's not too clear in the terms of broadcasting what it is. But there are other laws that tend to deal with direct pornography. But in terms of self-nudity, there's still a lot of work to do. And so bringing this conversation to the fore and the follow-up to this broadcasting event, which was conducted, we're supposed to have a series of different discussions. So we're quite happy that we're seeing this coming up.
Grateful for your time. Cecil Thomas Sunkwamils is the president of GIBA. Let's still remain on this topic and speak to the General Secretary of the Ghana Journalists Association, Dominic Lodge. Grateful for your time. Dominic, let me find out from you. The Education Minister, Sam George, has said that he will not, as minister, seek to regulate what media outlets are put on air. As a journalist or a journalist association, what do you make of this? Is it a welcoming news for the GJA? But what safeguards is the association putting in place to ensure members adhere to journalistic standards?
Thank you very much. It is important for us to say that this conversation that took place today is important for the industry, and it is something that we all need to embrace and then follow up with the subsequent engagement to ensure that all the things we need in the industry, we have them in place to make the industry fit for purpose. Now, when it comes to regulations, you know that regulations are good, but they can also be bad. And so all we need to do is to see a draft document on the said regulation to know whether what is being proposed will be good for the industry or not. You know, generally, every industry needs some form of checks and balances to be in place to check excesses or abuse. And so everyone agrees that there are some contents on air that should not be on air. And we all need to ensure that our airways are sanitized. But the big question is, how do you balance the need to sanitize the airways against media freedom, right to information, and freedom of expression? So that is why the issue is that we all need to ensure that we follow through to get whatever is being proposed good for everybody. So we don't have a situation where a regulation is put in place and that regulation would then become an albatross on our neck. So we all pray that we'll all be on the table when a regulation, as is being proposed, comes on stream, and then we all agree to the things in the regulation so that everybody will be fine. So if we are able to do that, I mean, putting that regulation without undue infringement on the right of practitioners and the media owners, we will all be for it. And so that is why I am happy that the earlier person you spoke with, Mr. Cecil Sunkwamils, talk about the broadcast bill. We all need to come to the table to work so that that bill will come and guide everybody in the broadcast space. We all just need to be on the table and agree to what should be in there and what not to be there. So like I stated earlier, regulation is good because we all need to weed out those fetish rituals or Ponzi schemes and people who, like the minister said, who claim they are men of God, but they go on defrauding people using the electronic media. So it's important that we use the broadcasting space to help build the nation, like the minister talked about earlier, that the role of the media is critical in national development. So we can't use the media to engage in activities that do not augur well for this nation. So it is a balancing act. We all need to be on the table to ensure that what is placed in there will not become, because there is a law in this country that was meant for vessels, electronic communication law, that was meant for vessels, navigation of vessels, but that law is being used against journalists or media practitioners. So we are saying that if you are coming with a regulation, that regulation must be fit for purpose. Everybody, it must not come to sit on people's freedom, but we also need to sanitize the airwaves to ensure that whatever is put out there is wholesome.
Roger is the General Secretary of the Ghana Journalists Association. We take a quick breather, and when we come back, we'll tell you how the ECG has retrieved over 1,000 containers at the ports. We'll be right back. You are still watching News Tonight. My name is Obed Gaglo. Let's do some security-related stories. And it is one of the biggest cybercrime crackdowns in Africa. Interpol, working with law enforcement in 14 countries, has dismantled a network of online scammers exploiting social media and dating platforms. In Ghana, police arrested 68 suspects and seized hundreds of devices. There's more.
The operation, codenamed Contender 3.0, led to 260 arrests across Africa, with Ghana accounting for more than a quarter. According to Interpol, the suspects ran romance scams and sextortion schemes using fake profiles, stolen images, and forged identities to trick victims into paying fees or extort money with secretly recorded videos. Ghana's security agency seized 835 electronic devices, identified 108 victims, and traced financial losses of $450,000, with $70,000 already recovered. Overall, more than 1,200 devices were confiscated, 81 cybercrime infrastructure dismantled, and thousands of potential victims identified. The crackdown, funded by the UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, ran from July 28 to August 11, 2025, sending a clear signal that global cooperation is closing in on online fraudsters.
Now, still on security, the Ghana Police Service has scored a major victory in the fight against violent crimes. A syndicate behind a string of bloody rural bank robberies across several regions has finally been brought down. 10 suspects are in custody, 3 have been killed in shootouts, and others are on the run.
Over the past year, rural banks across Ashanti, Ahafo, Western, Central, and Eastern regions came under siege. Armed gangs struck at dawn, tying up guards, cutting through vaults, and leaving behind fear and bloodshed. But a painstaking intelligence-led operation has changed the story. The police service, working across 5 regions, tracked down the gang, believed to be behind at least 12 violent robberies. Their targets included banks in Takrady, Kenyase, Elmina, Obuasi, and Ejiso. In the end, 10 suspects were arrested and 3 were killed in gun battles with officers. A manhunt is underway for others still hiding. Recovered from the gang's hideouts were 14 deadly weapons, including AK-47s and pump-action guns, along with pistols, ammunition, 6 vehicles, motorbikes, and cash in cedis, dollars, naira, and sefa. Police say one of the rifles seized was traced to an officer killed on the Bebiani-Goso highway in 2024, a chilling reminder of the gang's brutality.
From investigation conducted so far, I can report that some of the suspects, upon interrogation, have confessed to their involvement in the robberies. In addition, investigation has been able to confirm that some of the suspects were present at the various crime scenes around the time these robberies occurred. Also, during an identification parade, some of the suspects were positively identified by some victims of the robbery. Investigation is still ongoing. All the suspects are in custody and will be put before court while efforts are intensified to get those at large arrested.
As the suspects prepare to face justice, the message from the police is clear: no criminal is beyond reach.
Now, the Ghana Police Service in the Central Region has unmasked a bizarre plot involving a man who faked his own kidnapping and robbery. The suspect, 35-year-old Benjamin Owusu, allegedly staged the crime using dark blood in his bedroom to deceive both relatives and the police.
East Regional Police Command has arrested 35-year-old Benjamin Owusu for fabricating a robbery and kidnapping incident at Vijay, a suburb of Millennium City, Gumwa Nyanyano. The police responded to a distress report after a complainant received a text message from Owusu claiming he was under attack on 3rd September. At his residence, investigators found blood stains on the bedroom floor, sparking fears of foul play. Forensic analysis later revealed the stains were not human blood. Further investigations traced the suspect's movement to Elubo in the western region and eventually to a hideout in Akatamanso in the Ashanti region, where he was arrested on 24th September. Owusu reportedly confessed to slaughtering a duck to fake his abduction in an attempt to cover up money he could not account for to his employer. Police say he will face justice in court once the investigations are concluded. The Central East Regional Police Command has commended stakeholders who assisted in tracking down the suspect.
Now, the Eastern Regional Peace Council has raised alarm over rising drug and alcohol abuse among the youth, describing it as more than health concern, but a growing security threat. According to the council, substance abuse is emboldening illegal miners to defy security operatives. The warning came during the International Peace Day celebration in Koforidua.
Chairman of the Eastern Regional Peace Council, Dr. Mark Boedu, said substance abuse is not just a public health crisis, but a threat to peace and security. He stressed the need for urgent, coordinated national action.
Substance abuse sometimes make people feel like they are above the universe, and they feel like they are not operating within the law, and they can do whatever they want to do, and it's not been good, particularly in our mining areas. Sometimes they feel like they can even face the military or face the police, take their guns. I remember one of the young men we talked to was like, "You don't know me." For me, the last time even the soldiers, I was able to remove one teeth from a soldier. Look, this is not an achievement. It's sad.
Eastern Regional Minister Rita Akosia Ejay Awate also urged communities to stand firm against violence, hate speech, discrimination, and substance abuse. She called for stronger home, school, workplace, and faith-based interventions.
As a region, we must rise up to the occasion and speak against violence, hate speeches, discrimination, inequalities, and substance abuse. And it must begin from our homes, our churches, our mosques, places of work, and within our communities.
Peace Council Ambassador and Nkoswahen of Kowunkwatia, Nana Oreduwade I, appealed to the youth to choose life over addiction, warning that drug abuse has become a silent epidemic claiming lives.
Peace begins from our homes. So we feel one of us and Odoa, ultimately for our country. Odoso Levi, Ekumbi, and Libya. When you miss one day, we are one. Yamin kind, no dear kind. Not that cause.
This year's Peace Day was observed under the theme Act Now for a Peaceful World, addressing youth substance abuse as a pathway to violence prevention.
A young woman who has lived with crippling pain since a road crash in 2023 is asking for help to travel to Germany for a final surgery. Her testimony moved faith leaders and survivors at a breakfast meeting convened by the Accident Victim Support Ghana. Here is a report by Peter Kwao Adato.
She was returning from her hometown after introducing her would-be husband to the family when the crash changed her life. Since 2023, Asantua endured constant pain and multiple operations and now faces a final costly surgery in Germany.
People have donated, left with small amount in my traveling expenses. And I'm praying to God that He will send helpers to help me get the remaining balance in my traveling expenses so that I can go and do the surgery, and hoping to get better after.
At a breakfast meeting organized by Accident Victim Support Ghana, led by Reverend Cyril Benedict Crab, survivors shared heartbreaking testimonies of loss and trauma and called on religious leaders and communities to mobilize practical help for victims.
With the help of my brother, we will start something new, so that at least we that stand before congregation, we will do them a very big disservice if after everything shared, we will not tell them that they should also take their road safety serious.
Speakers described scenes too familiar on Ghana's roads. Young lives interrupted, families left to shoulder medical bills, and babies and children among the worst hit.
And I believe that it's not out of place, for churches and other institutions, civil society, companies to support such initiatives. We need to be wise, we need to pray, but we also need to think. No matter how prophetic you are, you don't close your eyes to drive. You will fall in a ditch. So please let's let them use the wisdom we have so that we plan.
Medical professionals at the meeting urged urgent fundraising and coordinated referrals to specialist care overseas where needed.
As much as we are involving drivers, highway authorities, those who service our cars, our organizers, all of them should also come along the train so that we can also reduce road accidents.
The young woman remains hopeful and is appealing for urgent contributions to cover travel and treatment costs.
The trot driver who is in a hurry to pick passengers. So please, let's respect them. Let's respect the road markings that have been made for our purpose.
Accident Victim Support Ghana says it will channel donations and help victims access surgical placements and travel logistics. Peter Kaw Adator's story for EIB News.
We pray that you are touched by this report and donate to this victim to fund her surgery in Germany. You are still watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. It's time for business.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
In business tonight, the Electricity Company of Ghana clarified its proposed tariff adjustment of more than 220% submitted to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Acting Managing Director Julius Kwabena Pekpena says the increment may not be fully passed on to the consumer. Speaking during monitoring visits by the Energy Committee of Parliament, he explained that the proposed adjustment is a service charge aimed at maintaining and expanding critical infrastructure. The company says it is reducing losses and improving revenue collection and having recorded its highest ever monthly revenue of 1.74 billion cedis in July 2025.
The current end user tariff, we see a distortion. The distribution service charge, in other words, the component of the tariff that ECG comes to ECG, is only right now 12%. And it should be around 40%. So the tariff is heavily distorted against distribution. And we are appealing to the PURC to correct that distortion. So the distribution service charge can go up without necessarily increasing the end user tariff.
The Electricity Company of Ghana has also confirmed that it has retrieved more than 1,000 missing containers from the port, resolving logistics setbacks that had hampered its operations.
We took over in February and we had a lot of challenges. We had container issues, we had procurement issues, we had outages, we had losses, and we were faced with resolving a lot of these issues. With the support of our board, the minister, and His Excellency the President, we made a lot of progress.
Now, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and Acting Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, has charged the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat to be ruthless in dealing with persons engaged in illegal mining. Speaking at the closing ceremony of a week-long training program for 9 months personnel in Sunyani, the minister commended the team for their dedication and the result achieved since its establishment in June this year. He reiterated government's commitment to end illegal mining popularly known as Galamsey, declaring forest reserves and water bodies as security zones that's to be protected at all costs. The minister further announced that NIMOS personnel will be deployed permanently in the forest reserves and along river bodies to provide sustained protection.
How did we get here? That the water levels that are supposed to from 0 to 500 are now 5,000 to 12,000. Impossible to treat. So brown. And every day we are talking about it. Some few select group of Ghanaians have decided they don't care what we say or what we do. What they want to do is to continue distracting the Ankobra, the Brim, and the Bra, and even take it to the Volta. And that is why they are bent on pumping out death and poison into these major rivers that are our lifeblood. We have come to that stage, and the president has made it clear. This fight against illegal mining is not going to be stopped, and every measure at the president's disposal will be used. We charge you, as a government prepares to deploy you for your permanent presence into the forest reserve and water bodies. Understand this clearly. These areas have now been declared by the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces as security zones. But for those who have decided that that is the only places, including our forest reserves, is where they are going to make their money, your time is up. I charge you with profound sense of duty and patriotism. Any recalcitrant entry into these zones is not merely a trespasser, they are an enemy of the state. You are to be firm.
Emmanuel Amakufibwa there charging NIMOS for its achievement. That's all for business. Up next is sports.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
For joining me here on Sports Brief, I am Monica Bukari. Now, the National Sports Authority, NSA, in consultation with the Ministry for Sports and Recreation, has announced the immediate suspension of all boxing activities in Ghana following the tragic death of professional boxer Ernest Bahubali Akushe. According to the statement issued on Thursday, September 25, the decision reflects the joint commitment of the NSA and the Ministry to prioritize the safety, health, and welfare of athletes. The NSA noted that preparations had already been completed to roll out reforms recommended by the Ministerial Committee on Boxing, including a 5-year safety and development plan. The suspension comes after the death of professional boxer Ernest Akushe, popularly known as Bahubali. Akushe died on Tuesday, September 23, 2025, 11 days after his fight against Jacob Dixon at the Bukom Boxing Arena on 12 September. The deceased boxer Ernest Akushe is said to have fought in multiple bouts over the past 12 to 24 months, which scheduled should not have happened. Now, retired boxer and boxing promoter Aite Powers has expressed deep disappointment and frustration over the National Sports Authority's decision to suspend all boxing activities in Ghana. The suspension follows the recent death of boxer Ernest Bahubali Akushe. Aite Powers, whose boxing event is scheduled for Saturday 27th, has called for the decision to be rescinded, arguing that it will result in huge financial losses for him.
GBA president is telling me that he gets a letter from my show has to go off. My brother, what I'm saying, the kind of money I waste in this promotion, and your Apple want to spread this promotion. What can come? What can come? Yeah, because I don't know why. If you want to spoil somebody a promotion, 2 days, not 3 days. If Babali fought, and Babali go out, Babali go and spend more than 2 weeks in the house before he died. Yes, everybody have a problem in his own house. You understand me? So if Babali go and enjoy himself, if somebody poison him or not, how can we know? Nobody. So prosperity have to come before we know that, oh, this and this and that. But you can't just wake up now, you say you abandon boxing. Do you know what bosses are eating? What are you contributing in boxing? Then somebody wake up and spend more than billions in boxing for his promotion. The bosses are going to wait from here. They are going to the arena. Other than that, they should call national security to come and kill.
Now to some football news, and head coach of Mediama Sporting Club, Ibrahim Tanko, has opened up about the team's bright start in the 2025-26 Ghana Premier League season. Speaking ahead of Mediama's next match against Karela United, coach Ibrahim Tanko revealed what has worked for his team.
The game, like you said, they have a very good team. I think they have a very new players with a very
Hughes revealed her frustration after she was not registered for the upcoming World Championships. Other issues in Ghana Weightlifting Federation? Other issues?
I don't know about current issues, but I know about past issues.
Like?
I feel like, for example, like me not being registered. Why? There's supposed to be protocol. Whether the person doing the registration has a personal agenda with the athlete or not, it shouldn't make them not register somebody. Whether you like somebody or not, it's your job. You should be able to. It shouldn't affect the athlete's career. Things like that. Those are little issues. Organization, funding, not allowing sponsors to sponsor individual athletes, because at the end of the day, we all have individual strengths, and individual companies seek different types of athletes. So if an athlete...
So do stay tuned at 9:30 p.m. We bring you this very exclusive with Marie Agba-Hughes. That does it for sports. My name is Monica Bukari. Do stay tuned. E-Zone is up next.
For a one-off big experience under the stars, the AQ3 Center, in partnership with Ultimate 103.9 and Ibusia FM, is bringing up an exciting show. Take a look.
You see, today is very special. Everybody, let's go. Say side G. Big up all the women here. Welcome to the place, AQ3 Center. Right. Oh, that's the woman. Woman sex to ladies right now. Sing.
And of course, look forward to that exciting show in Kumasi. And that's where we wrap up tonight's bulletin. Grateful for your time. My name is Obed Gaglo. For more news, log on to starfm.com.gh. Have a blessed weekend.